Let me start with a truth that might sting a little. Rude people aren't going anywhere. They'll be in line behind you at the grocery store, sitting 2 cubicles away, sometimes even at your dinner table. And when they come, they don't just bring their words, they bring the heat, the sting, the shame. When we hear the word boundary, some people flinch. It sounds cold, harsh, like something we build to push people away. But that's not what real boundaries are. Boundaries aren't about shutting people out. They're about showing up for yourself. Think of it this way. A boundary isn't a wall you build to keep others out. It's a bridge you build to walk yourself back home, back to your values, back to your peace, back to your self-worth. Boundaries say, this is where I end and you begin. They say, here's what I will allow, and they say, I can love you and still say no. Setting a boundary isn't rude. It's not aggressive. It's actually one of the most loving things we can do, not just for ourselves, but for our relationships. Because when we don't set boundaries, resentment builds, and resentment is poison. It leaks into our tone, our energy, our presence. You see, every time you say yes, when your heart is screaming no, you chip away at your self-respect. Every time you tolerate behavior that makes you feel small, drained, or disrespected, you teach yourself that your peace is negotiable. And it isn't. A healthy boundary is a reflection of your belief that you deserve kindness, safety, and consideration, not just from others, but from yourself. It's you saying, I value myself enough to choose discomfort over self-abandonment. Because yes, setting a boundary is often uncomfortable. It can bring guilt. It can stir conflict. But the discomfort of honoring yourself is always more healing than the pain of betraying yourself. And here's the magic. The people who truly care about you will respect your boundaries. They might not like them at first, but they'll adjust because they understand that love without respect isn't love at all. So the next time someone crosses the line, ask yourself, is this a moment to be liked or a moment to be honest? Because you can be kind and clear, you can be loving and firm. And when you set a boundary, you're not creating distance, you're creating clarity. And clarity is a gift to you and to everyone around you. There's a moment right before the words come out, right before the emotional reaction, where you feel it, that heat rising in your chest, that pull to defend, to clap back, to be right. And in that moment, you are standing at a door. On the other side of that door is an argument that's calling your name, a storm begging you to step into it. But here's the truth. You don't have to walk through every door someone flings open. You don't have to attend every argument you're invited to. That doesn't mean you're weak. It doesn't mean you're backing down. It means you're choosing peace over ego, clarity over chaos, and power over performance. Because here's what we know. Not every fight is yours to fight. Not every jab deserves a counterpunch. Not every insult needs a comeback. You don't owe everyone your energy, especially not the kind of energy that costs you your calm, your dignity, your day. Sometimes silence is not surrender, it's strategy. Sometimes walking away is not weakness, it's wisdom. People will project their pain onto you. They'll bait you with disrespect. They'll misunderstand you on purpose just to get a rise. And you'll feel that urge. If I don't say something, they'll think they've won. But what if it's not about winning? What if it's about not losing yourself? You are not here to be pulled into every emotional tug of war. You're not here to explain your worth to people committed to misunderstanding you. You're not here to bleed your energy for the sake of someone else's drama. You are allowed to say nothing. You are allowed to pause. You are allowed to protect your peace like it's sacred, because it is. And let's be honest, the loudest voices are often the most wounded. The people who come at you with venom are often hurting in ways they don't know how to name. That doesn't excuse their behavior, but it helps you not to carry it. So the next time someone throws shade, pushes your buttons, or tries to drag you into a storm that doesn't belong to you, pause, take a breath, ask yourself, what's the cost of responding? Is this worth my peace? What would it look like to simply not? And then walk away with your dignity intact. Because walking away doesn't mean you lost. It means you chose to win in a different way, a quieter way, a braver way, a way that doesn't leave you drained and bitter, but grounded and proud. You don't have to show up to every argument. You are allowed to stay rooted in peace, even if someone else is spinning in chaos. That's your power. Let's get something clear. Compassion is not weakness. It's not passivity. It's not rolling over and letting people treat you however they want. Compassion is a choice. It's a strength. It's choosing to see the pain behind someone's behavior without letting that pain become an excuse for harm. You can be kind and clear. You can be empathetic and have boundaries. You can hold space for someone's story without erasing your own. There's a version of compassion that people don't talk about enough, the version that holds firm, that says, I care about you, but I won't let you harm me. That's not cruelty. That's self-respect. You see, when we're wired for empathy, when our hearts are tender and open, it can feel wrong to walk away from someone who is suffering. We think, they're going through something. Maybe they didn't mean it. If I just love them harder, maybe they'll stop. But love isn't a strategy to fix someone. Compassion doesn't mean you abandon your own emotional safety. And being a good person doesn't mean being someone's emotional punching bag. You can hold compassion for why someone is struggling and still choose not to let their struggle become your suffering. You can wish someone healing and still close the door behind them. You can understand someone's trauma and still say that behavior is not okay with me. Because here's the deal, compassion without boundaries leads to burnout, to resentment, to self-betrayal. And no matter how gentle your heart is, it doesn't deserve to be trampled on. If someone is consistently rude, cruel, manipulative, or hurtful, your compassion doesn't require you to stay close to them. You can love people from afar. You can forgive someone and never speak to them again. You can have empathy and still say, that was not acceptable and I will not continue to make space for it. That's real compassion, the kind that includes you in the equation. Because you are a human being too. You are allowed to matter in your own story. And protecting your peace isn't selfish, it's sacred. So don't confuse being compassionate with being complicit. Don't confuse grace with self-abandonment. Don't confuse being loving with being endlessly available to harm. Compassion is powerful. It's how we stay soft in a world that can be so hard. But the most powerful compassion, the kind that loves without losing itself. The kind that draws a line not to punish but to protect. The kind that says, I see your pain, but I will not allow it to become my burden. That's the compassion that heals without enabling. That's the compassion that honors your humanity and theirs. And that's the kind of compassion that changes lives, starting with your own. Let's be honest. When someone is rude to us, when they cut us down, ignore us, talk over us, or try to embarrass us, it's almost instinctive to turn inward and wonder, what did I do wrong? Did I deserve that? Why are they treating me like this? We go searching for the fault line in ourselves when the earthquake started somewhere else entirely. But here's what we need to remember over and over again. How someone behaves toward you is a reflection of who they are, not a mirror of your worth. People act from their internal world, not your external one. Their reactions, their outbursts, their coldness or cruelty, those are data points about them, not definitions of you. If someone speaks to you with disrespect, it doesn't mean you're unworthy of kindness. If someone ignores your presence, it doesn't mean you don't matter. If someone lashes out at you, it doesn't mean you're the problem. It might mean they don't have the tools to communicate with grace. It might mean they are living in pain and haven't learned how to hold it without spilling it. It might mean they are threatened by your strength, your calm, your light, and they don't know what to do with that. And let's get this straight, it's not your job to carry the consequences of someone else's unhealed pain. Yes, self-reflection is healthy. Yes, we should be accountable for our impact. But there's a difference between taking responsibility and taking blame that doesn't belong to you. And so many of us were conditioned to take on the weight of other people's bad moods, sharp tongues, or emotional immaturity, especially if we were raised around it. But you are not responsible for the wound someone refuses to face. You are not responsible for managing someone's reaction to your truth. You are not responsible for tiptoeing around people who throw emotional grenades and call it just being honest. Sometimes people will treat you poorly because they're in pain. Sometimes because they lack emotional regulation. Sometimes because they feel powerless and grasp for control wherever they can get it. And yes, it's okay to understand that, but don't let understanding turn into tolerance. Don't let empathy become an invitation to internalize their dysfunction. The next time someone's behavior leaves you feeling small or shaken, pause and ask yourself, is this really about me? What does this behavior actually say about their emotional world? What do I know to be true about myself, even if they can't see it? Their cruelty doesn't cancel your kindness. Their immaturity doesn't erase your wisdom. Their coldness doesn't define your worth. Let their behavior be their story, not your identity. You get to decide who you are no matter how someone else acts. So stand tall in that truth. Other people's behavior says everything about their character and nothing about your value. Let it reflect back on them, not soak into you. That's how you protect your peace. That's how you stay grounded. That's how you live free. Silence can be a roar of strength when words would only fuel the fire. We live in a world that worships quick responses, clapbacks, tweets, reactions, comebacks. It's almost expected that when someone disrespects you, you have to say something. That if you don't speak up in that moment, you've somehow lost the battle. But here's what they don't tell you. Sometimes silence is the most courageous, grounded, powerful thing you can offer, not to the other person, but to yourself. Because silence isn't always submission. Silence isn't always weakness. Silence, when chosen with intention, can be a boundary, a shield, a reclaiming of your energy. Think about it. There are moments when words won't land anyway. When someone's not listening to understand, they're listening to attack. When their mind is already made up. When their anger isn't seeking resolution, just domination. When their ego is louder than their integrity. And in those moments, you get to ask yourself, is saying more going to bring me peace or just prolong the storm? Sometimes silence is not about withholding, it's about preserving. Preserving your dignity, preserving your energy, preserving your truth. Because truth doesn't always need to shout to be real. Have you ever walked away from an argument and thought, why did I even go there? That feeling in your guts, that heavy, exhausted weight, that's your soul telling you, we gave too much. We lowered ourselves to meet chaos. We traded peace for the illusion of control. But when you choose silence instead, intentional, grounded silence, you stay rooted. You don't get swept away. You don't take the bait. And that restraint, that's power. The kind of power that doesn't need to prove itself. The kind of power that isn't performative but anchored. The kind that says, I know who I am. I don't need to argue with you about it. And it's not just silence with others, it's the silence you keep with yourself. The pause before sending that message, the deep breath before reacting, the space between being triggered and choosing how to respond. That silence is sacred. It's where your wisdom lives. It's where clarity gets to speak before your ego does. And here's the thing, silence doesn't mean you don't feel anger or pain or hurt. It doesn't mean you're avoiding confrontation out of fear. It means you're choosing your battles with intention. It means you're refusing to let someone else's chaos become your operating system. It means you're saving your voice for places where it will matter. So the next time someone tries to ignite a fire in you with their disrespect or their drama, remember, you don't owe them your words. You owe yourself your peace. Let your silence speak volumes. Let it say, I see what this is. I'm not going there. Let it say, I won't give energy to what doesn't deserve it. Let it say, I choose stillness over spiraling. One of the most empowering realizations we can have in our relationships is that we are not just recipients of how others treat us. We are active participants in the dynamics we allow. We teach people how to treat us by what we tolerate, by the energy we give, by the boundaries we set or fail to set, and by the way we respond to both respect and disrespect. It can be uncomfortable to acknowledge this because it places responsibility in our hands. It means that every time someone disrespects us, there's a part of us that allowed it to happen, intentionally or unintentionally. But it's not about blame, it's about empowerment. Because the truth is, you get to be the teacher of how people treat you. Every moment, every interaction is a lesson in how others can show up for you and how you show up for yourself. You might think, but I didn't ask for this. Why should I have to teach people how to treat me? And you're right. It's not fair that you have to take on this role. But the reality is, when we don't teach people how to treat us, they often default to treating us the way they feel comfortable or the way they're used to being treated, whether that's kind, indifferent, or hurtful. And that can leave us feeling unheard, unseen, or disrespected. Here's the thing, every time you allow someone to speak to you in a tone that devalues you, you're teaching them that this behavior is acceptable. Every time you overextend yourself and sacrifice your well-being for someone who doesn't appreciate it, you're teaching them that you don't have limits. Every time you tolerate being ignored or disregarded, you're reinforcing that you're okay with being sidelined. Now, it's important to note that this doesn't mean we have to be perfect in how we teach others to treat us. It doesn't mean we can always predict how people will respond to us or that we can control their behavior. What it does mean is that we have the power to create a standard for how we are treated. And that standard begins with how we treat ourselves. If you want people to treat you with respect, respect yourself first. If you want people to honor your time, honor your own time. If you want people to listen to you, listen to yourself. If you want to be valued, value yourself. The key here is consistency. If you show up for yourself, set boundaries, and insist on kindness, people around you will start to notice. They might not get it right away, but they will get it. And the more you reinforce your boundaries and values, the more clearly people will understand that they cannot walk all over you without consequence. But let's be real, this isn't always easy. It's uncomfortable to stand up for yourself, especially when the people around you might not be used to seeing you assert yourself. It's tough when someone tries to make you feel guilty for setting a boundary or when they try to push past your limits. But every time you choose to prioritize your own well-being over their comfort, you are teaching them a valuable lesson. I deserve respect and I will not tolerate less than that. We are always teaching others how to treat us, whether we're conscious of it or not. Every action, every word, every choice is a lesson. When you say yes to something you don't want to do, you're teaching people that your needs don't matter. When you shrink yourself to make someone else feel more comfortable, you're teaching them that your voice doesn't deserve to be heard. When you give without receiving in return, you're teaching them that your love, your time, and your energy are unlimited. But here's the flip side. When you say no, you teach people that your time and energy are precious. When you speak up, you teach people that your voice is worthy of being heard. When you stand firm in your values, you teach people that you will not settle for less than you deserve. So, yes, you teach people how to treat you. And while that's a responsibility, it's also an incredible opportunity. You have the chance every single day to show the world how you want to be treated and to teach others to treat you accordingly. This means that you get to decide the standards. You get to decide what behavior you will accept and what you will not. You get to decide who has access to you and who does not. And the more you teach others to respect you, the more you create a life filled with meaningful relationships based on mutual respect, kindness, and understanding. It's a process, and it can take time. You might have to unlearn old patterns or confront your own fears of rejection. But every time you hold your ground, every time you say no when you mean it, every time you prioritize your own well-being, you reinforce the lesson that you are worthy of respect, care, and love. So